Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, students, teachers, friends, it is really my honor to come to this beautiful country to meet with so many distinguished people. And I have to thank Peter for his very kind introduction that I really do not deserve. Now, I'm Francis Chen from Hong Kong. Some of you may not have had the opportunity to come over to Hong Kong. And this is Hong Kong. This is my workplace, the Science and Technology Park, with the beautiful Victoria Harbour and certainly the lovely dim sum. So I very much welcome you to come and visit Hong Kong, and I'll take you to see the beautiful scenery and taste our dim sum. Now today I've chosen a somewhat kind of strange topic. It's called fate, luck, and Feng Shui. Now I have to tell you that for 5,000 years, Chinese people believe that our destiny is governed by these three important factors: fate, luck, and Feng Shui. Now if I use modern technology, modern science terminology, I guess I can translate them into genetic inheritance, family background, and environment. Now, I guess as I ponder this belief, these three important factors, I can't help but admire those who seem to have everything, like genius who get Nobel Laureates, people who were born with a lot of talents and surrounded by influential figures. But students, let me ask you a question. What if you have none of these three factors? What are you going to do? I guess from my past bit experience, my grandma always said, "Francis, look at you. I knew you are not talented. You had none of these three factors." So chances are, at least according to the traditional Chinese culture, if you have none of these three elements, your destiny is usually doomed. You won't be the golden boy or golden girl. Nothing comes easy. Or if you really want to get something, you have to fight against all odds. Now, my students, today I'm not going to talk about hardcore science, but rather I want to share with you my personal life story, how one can fail successfully. This is really my aim. Now, I have to say that my childhood was far from being fortunate. I was born into a very humble family. Now, the yellow circle, that was me and my late father together with my mom and my only little brother. Hong Kong nowadays, people thought it was a metropolitan city, beautiful, vibrant city. I have to say that in those days when I was born in this very poor sector in Hong Kong. I have to say that in those days, I spent more time running, wandering in the streets than studying in classroom, not to mention whatever education that Peter just mentioned. My late father, who was the only breadwinner of the family, first struggled as a butcher and then later as a taxi driver. Now, being poor in those days was not just about financial deprivation. It also meant a scarcity of time and attention for all their children. I guess with such a background, I hope you won't feel surprised that this delinquent-looking young man was me. Now, you may wonder if some miraculous events had transformed me into a different person so that I became a professor of medicine, I became an entrepreneur standing in front of you today. No, I wasn't really blessed with miracles. As I grew older, I began to learn a harsh reality that opportunities, they are not gifts. They are battles to be fought, and the label, "you are not good enough," became my bitter feel, driving me to prove everyone wrong. You are wrong about me. Now, students, please remember, this quote was not by Winston Churchill. It was by me, Francis Chen. Now, when I grew older, I decided to pursue academic medicine because I believe education could change the world and that medicine could heal the souls of underprivileged people like myself. I remember when I was about to pursue my university education. At that time, Hong Kong was building a second medical school, a new medical school. At that time, I thought, wow, this new medical school, which did not have any historical burden, could offer me plenty of dimensions to dream, to imagine. But unfortunately, after choosing this new medical school, this second medical school at the Chinese University, in fact, this school was actually built in a remote part of Hong Kong, leading to a significant delay in the opening of its teaching hospital. And therefore, I was assigned to a small peripheral hospital without any teaching facilities. And without teaching facilities, therefore, they kind of put up a few cargo containers. These are real cargo containers to become temporary classrooms. When I was a medical student, I spent quite a bit of my time inside these cargo containers as my classrooms and tutorial rooms, so life was pretty miserable, as one can imagine. And therefore, I guess in those days, being a small minority was often being alienated by those giants who often stood on my way. But fortunately, being young and naive, sometimes I believe, and also you need to believe you can really achieve something. So that's the beauty of being young and naive. When I became a young medical doctor, I was looking for research opportunities. At that time, I didn't have the luxury of having very good caring mentors. I only knew that in those days, back in the 90s, Hong Kong had a very, very high instance of bleeding from the stomach. We call peptic ulcer bleeding. You can see that Hong Kong has probably the highest incidence of bleeding in the whole world for some unknown reasons. I thought, oh, this must be my opportunity, because every day I saw so many patients. And therefore, I spent weeks, if not months, to come up with my very first research proposal. And I submitted my research proposal to my supervisor. You know what? You know their response? They said, Francis, this is mission impossible. In no way could you finish this study. You are not in UCLA, you are not in Cambridge, Oxford. That's impossible. But being young and naive, I believe if you believe in yourself, you will be unstoppable. And therefore, despite the lack of support, I used my own salary, I used my own pocket money to support my own very first research as a clinical trial. Spending years of hard work, using my own money, finally, you know what? I got my paper, my research published in one of the very, very, very top medical journals. Now, this journal, the New England Journal of Medicine, a lot of people in their whole academic life fail to have one single paper. And I can tell you, I got a few. Now, after having this very first paper published, I was so excited. I thought it must be a great success. My career would be very wonderful. You know what? After having my paper published, I received heavy criticisms from authorities in the United States, from different parts of the world. And I can show you, this is an open letter written by, at that time, the two presidents of the biggest cardiology society in the United States, the American Heart Foundation, the American Heart Association, and the American College of Cardiology. Now, in brief, they said, we were disturbed by the scientific rationale and questionable design of the trial, even though it was published in a top medical journal. Now, at that time, I asked myself, should I just give up? Because these giants, they just stood on my way. Well, instead of giving up, I continued to pursue my research. And over the years, I continued to work on the field and continued to publish important papers, confirming that my initial observation was genuine and my own findings was also confirmed by other researchers from different parts of the world. And after, I would say, about 10 years of hard work, finally, I was the only expert outside the United States was being invited to join this so-called expert panel to formulate clinical treatment guidelines for the people in the United States and globally. Now, having working as a researcher for more than 2 decades, I began to ask myself, now, with scientific research, often we generate many scientific discoveries, new knowledge, which are extremely important as the foundation. But how often do we translate our discoveries into what we call innovation that can really change the world, that can really fulfill societal unmet need? To me, this is the difference between academic research and innovation. Therefore, by the time when I was about to step down from the position of the Dean of Medicine, I decided to pursue my next dream. Instead, I really want to move on and find the path to my next big dream. Now, I'm sure some 25 years ago, people identified and highlight the importance of our human genome. And there are a lot of important breakthroughs in the understanding of human genome in various diseases and health conditions. In the last 10 years, people began to realize that our body actually has the second set of genome we call the gut microbiome. Now, what exactly is gut microbiome? In very brief terms, in our human body, we only own 1% of our body genome. 99% of the genome actually belong to the germs in our gut we call the gut microbiome. While we may not be able to easily change our human genome for technical and moral reasons, we can actually modulate our gut microbiome and potentially improve health, cure diseases, and even change our faith. So, in fact, in the past 10 years, you will realize that the research of gut microbiome not only published in top journals like Science, like Nature, but also has drawn the attention of other sectors like the Wall Street and many others. And a few years ago, The Economist said microbiome treatments are just taking off. There are a lot of new opportunities with the gut microbiome. And because of that, being a gastroenterologist, I myself and my colleague, Professor Ng, we share the same gut feeling that the human gut microbiome is the next frontier of medicine. And therefore, we decided to turn poop into medicine. This is really our dream. I remember when we first embarked on this journey, it was a very, very bumpy journey. This is what we call the napkin business proposal back in 2019. At that time, I was having coffee with my colleague in Starbucks. We then scribbled our business proposal over a piece of napkin. I still kept this napkin nowadays. And with a leap of faith, we started our very first biotechnology company. Because we had no funding at that time, we had also a very humble beginning. We identified a very old, run-down commercial building in Hong Kong. Now, this is a very small office. We did not own this office. Instead, we rented only one of the 4 desks of this office as my startup company. As we had no money, we have to reach out to researchers looking for funding support. I remember in one of the lunch meetings, I invited potential investors. And during lunch, I suddenly kind of asked him for various support, for various funding. People say, no, you don't have this kind of funding. And then suddenly I show him his poop in the middle of lunch. He was so scared that he basically ran away and didn't want to talk to me anymore. So it's always difficult when you start something which is totally outside your comfort zone. So by 2022-23, then COVID hit Hong Kong and the entire world. To many people, this COVID pandemic was a nightmare, was a disaster, everything stopped. But instead, we took this as an opportunity because we were actually among the first, if not the first group, showing that the gut microbiome actually determines the health outcome of patients who get COVID. Why some die from COVID, why others appear to be largely symptom-free. So because of that, we had this study published in one of the top journals. And at the same time, sorry about these Chinese characters, in mainland China, the Beijing government also mentioned that modulation of the gut microbes might be a potential strategy to alleviate symptoms of COVID. And we didn't stop there just having a paper published in a nice journal. We make use of assistant AI to develop, we called a new oral microbiome formula, SIM01, and within 6 months, we have this product commercialized locally on the Christmas Eve. Now, we didn't really just want to stop there and have a product available in the market. We continue to do our work to demonstrate how this alteration in gut microbiome can improve our immunity, can improve the outcome of vaccination. And within a few years, we not only get our innovation awards, but also we get other awards such as the Entrepreneur Awards and other commercial awards. And recently, we were kind of awarded by the Deloitte as being the #2 in Hong Kong, as well as the #4 in China as the rapidly rising startup companies. Now, my friend, I guess the purpose of doing entrepreneurial development is not just to become rich. In fact, most people, they don't get rich just by being an entrepreneur. I guess what we really want to do is we want to bring health and hope to future generations with our microbiome innovations. And therefore, one example is that autism, which is an increasingly problem in China, but also globally. And over the years, we worked on the gut microbiome, and we were able to identify a panel of markers that can detect autism disorder as early as 18 months. And this important finding not only published in a very nice journal, Nature Microbiology, but also it received the FDA's Breakthrough Device designation, as it recognized as world's first precision diagnostic test for autism. Now we are working very hard, hoping that we will be able to transform this discovery into a diagnostic tool that really help a lot of families or clinicians who are facing this important problem every day. Now, looking ahead, it is really our dream that we want to turn bugs into drugs with all our state-of-the-art facilities, with all our scientists, clinical researchers, and also business developers working together. This is really our dream. So, I guess I've just told you that in myself, in my own experience, I don't have any fates, I don't have good luck, I don't have any good feng shui. So I don't have any of these factors. But if you ask me, what are the key factors to success if you have none of these 3 important factors? I believe the most important thing is young people, you need to dare to dream, even though you seem to work against all odds. Never give up. The importance of persistence is very important. You identify your goal, then if you want to go for that, gear up and go for it. Along this journey, there will be a lot of hiccups. There will be people who hate you, who don't like you, who doubt you, who don't believe in you. Then what you really want to do is you have to work hard and prove them they are totally wrong. Because I believe luck only favors those who are well prepared for an unexpected opportunity. Thank you for your very kind attention.
And now there is time for questions. Students, if you wish to ask a question, raise your hand, and you can see around you help who will provide you a microphone. Questions, please. Before students asking a question, microbiome actually is really, you need bioinformatic helps to do so. So now, currently, there are AI around us. So maybe, can you predict that you go to the toilet in the morning and you have a smart toilet, and finally the toilet will come out with the results, what you need to be afraid of today?
Peter, this is really my dream. In fact, the advancement of artificial technology has really transformed the research on gut microbiome. Gut microbiome, we are talking about trillions or hundreds of trillions of microbes that using the current conventional technology, the advance will be very slow. Then with AI, we will be able to shorten the entire research and try to identify potential targets. In fact, in Hong Kong, we are now developing what we call exactly a smart toilet, hoping that with a small scoop of poop, we will be able to define your disease profile, your risk profile, and hopefully by adjusting or modulating the future the gut microbiome, we will be able to change the health and improve the treatment outcomes of various conditions. This is really our dream.
Thank you. Questions? Unfortunately, I cannot see, but if somebody is standing, just I can see one there.
Yes.
Thank you for the very inspiring presentation. My question would be about what you mentioned many times in your presentation, that being young and naive is something very important to pursue a scientific career. But do you think it's only important to be like naive and believe in many not so rational things as a young student, or is it also important further on in a scientific career?
Right. I guess being young and naive is an advantage because, number one, you have nothing to lose. You should not be afraid of failures because failures are really the key to success in the end. And therefore, I always admire people who are always young in their hearts. And also, definitely, along this journey, you ask, sometimes we go for something, is it something rational or irrational? Now, I believe what we really want is not to differentiate between rationalism or irrationalism. Rather, you should follow your heart. You ask why you want to pursue that particular dream. Is it just for self-ambition, or is it something you really want to do a greater good for the society, for something? Like myself, I pursue this entrepreneurial development. My dream is not to become rich. My dream is really to bring health and hope to the next generation. That may take decades. That may take another generation before I can realize this dream. Is this something rational? From an investment perspective, this is totally irrational. The return on investment may be very low, but if you follow your heart, you go for that, you will be able to find people who share your enthusiasm, who work together with you. I believe if you want to be successful, you need a team of people who share your dream and work together with you.
And I think we also have time for one more question. Yes? Yeah. Just wait for the mic, if it's possible to bring there.
now that I've experienced the shortcomings of sitting in very comfortable seats up here and having nice vision, I'm thankful for the microphone and thankful that I can ask my question. My mother works with intellectually disabled children, and throughout this line of career, she has encountered an article that talks about, I believe the translation is stool transplants, which means you can take like a person's microbiome and you can make essentially a pill or a medicine out of it. And they've done research that this improved dementia and also like intellectual capabilities with children like this. And I just wanted to ask, because when she read this to me, I was sort of skeptical about it, because this was the first time I've heard about it and it didn't really make sense to me at the time. So I just wanted to ask, is this, sorry for the question, but is this possible? What is the percentage of intellectual growth related to microbiome, and how long does it take for it to take effect?
Good question. In fact, not only you, but also I'm also skeptical after hearing this particular story. Now, I have to say that we need to be cautious about our enthusiasm. We may be very enthusiastic about new advances in a certain area, whether you talk about medicine, science, or technology. But whatever enthusiasm we may encounter, whatever big dream we may want to pursue, everything has to be kind of delineated by science. So with this particular question, I really want to have more clinical data, more scientific basis to demonstrate that how the gut microbiome will affect our mental state, will affect people's intelligence, and how are we going to select the right people and put it into the right recipient. So I guess this is going to be a very, very long journey before we have all these basic science mechanistic data, before we have got adequate clinical studies to demonstrate its safety and efficacy. I don't think we should really easily jump to this kind of conclusion that this fecal transplantation can do miracles. I don't think so.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Unfortunately, the time is gone, and we also would like to commemorate you for this event.